The void is rarely truly silent. There are always echoes of stellar winds, the hum of distant drives, the faint static of forgotten civilizations. But when Earth went silent, it was a silence that screamed, not of defeat, but of something far more unsettling. First, their trade ships vanished. Then, their colonies went dark, one by one like extinguished embers. The Galactic Assembly, drunk on their victory, saw only a void in the quadrant. They never considered what a species forged on a death world might do when pushed beyond its breaking point, when all avenues of diplomacy are exhausted. They mistook a quiet refusal for a quiet retreat. And by the time the galaxy realized what that profound silence truly meant, it was already too late. When Earth went silent, complete HFY Story Part 1. The day humanity said no, the massive crystal dome of Nexus 7 Station stretched above the assembly hall like a frozen ocean, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of the three suns that powered this neutral meeting ground. Captain Sarah Chun sat motionless in the human delegation's assigned corner, watching as the three dominant powers of the galaxy delivered their final judgment on humanity's future. For 8 grueling months, she had endured their condescending speeches, their dismissive gestures, and their barely concealed contempt for her species. The Hegemony Supreme Commander Thrax stood at the central podium, his massive frame covered in ceremonial armor that gleamed under the artificial lights. His species had ruled through military might for over 2,000 years, and his voice carried the weight of countless conquered worlds. Behind him, his honor guard of towering warriors remained perfectly still, their weapons displayed as both ceremony and threat. Thrax's 4 eyes swept across the human delegation with obvious disgust as he spoke. The verdict of the Galactic Assembly is final, he declared, his words translated into dozens of languages simultaneously. The human species has proven itself too aggressive, too unpredictable, and too dangerous to remain independent. They will accept client status under our protection, or they will face complete isolation from galactic civilization. To Sarah's left sat the representatives of the Zenth Collective, a confederation of merchant species whose sleek, metallic bodies reflected their obsession with efficiency and profit. Their leader, Prime Calculator Nexus 9, activated holographic displays showing detailed economic projections. The numbers painted a grim picture of what would happen to human colonies without access to galactic trade networks. Food shortages, industrial collapse, technological stagnation, all presented with cold, mathematical precision. Our models indicate a 97% probability of human societal breakdown within 18 months of trade cessation, Nexus 9 announced, its synthetic voice carrying no emotion. Compliance with Assembly directives offers the only path to species survival. We are prepared to offer generous terms for human labor and resource extraction rights. The third power block was represented by the Vori Empire, an ancient bureaucracy that had perfected the art of administrative control. Chancellor Vextar, whose species resembled giant moths with wings that shimmered in bureaucratic glory, rustled his papers as he prepared to speak. His people had been filing reports and issuing permits for longer than human civilization had existed, and they viewed the current situation as simply another administrative challenge to be resolved. The legal framework is quite clear, Vextar droned, his translator struggling with the complexity of Vori governmental terminology. Independent species must demonstrate compliance with 47 separate galactic statutes, pass inspection by 12 different oversight committees, and maintain acceptable ratings in 31 distinct categories of civilizational advancement. Humanity currently meets the minimum requirements in only 6 categories. Sarah listened to every word while her mind raced through the impossible mathematics of their situation. Earth's colonies were scattered across 43 star systems, home to over 2 billion humans who had spent generations building new worlds from barren rock and hostile environments. The alien powers spoke of human weakness, but they had clearly forgotten that weakness and desperation could forge strength that no comfortable species could imagine. Dr. Michael Torres sat beside her, his weathered hands folded calmly in his lap. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, he had spent decades studying alien psychology, and his research had revealed disturbing patterns in galactic history. Species after species had been forced into client relationships with the three major powers. Their independence slowly eroded through economic manipulation and administrative pressure. The few who had resisted had simply vanished from the historical record, their civilizations erased as if they had never existed. The Assembly has been remarkably patient with human defiance. Commander Thrak continued, his tone suggesting that patience was rapidly running out. But our generosity is not unlimited. You have 72 hours to formally accept client status or face the consequences of your stubbornness. The alien delegates began murmuring among themselves, clearly expecting the humans to crumble under the weight of such overwhelming pressure. They had seen it happen countless times before, proud species reduced to begging for mercy when faced with the reality of galactic isolation. The mathematics were simple and brutal: comply or die. There were no other options in their carefully controlled universe. Sarah thought about her daughter back on Earth, studying engineering at the Mars Technical Institute. She thought about the farmers on New Geneva, who had turned a frozen wasteland into fertile agricultural colonies. She thought about the miners on Kepler's Edge, who extracted rare metals from asteroid belts that aliens considered too dangerous to approach. Every human settlement represented someone's dream made real through determination and sacrifice. The Zenth Collective's economic projections flickered through her mind like a nightmare scenario. Without galactic trade, human colonies would indeed struggle. Advanced medical equipment from Vori factories would no longer be available. Exotic materials from hegemony mining operations would disappear from human supply chains. The sophisticated entertainment and cultural products produced by dozens of alien species would vanish from human networks. It was a comprehensive strategy designed to make independence impossible, but what the aliens failed to understand was that humans had been preparing for exactly this moment since their first contact with galactic civilization. Every trade agreement had been studied for weaknesses. Every alien technology had been reverse engineered in secret laboratories. Every dependency had been identified and alternatives developed through decades of careful planning. The galaxy saw humanity as desperate newcomers begging for acceptance, but the truth was far more complex. Captain Morrison of Earth Defense Command sat 3 seats down from Sarah, his military uniform crisp despite months of diplomatic tension. His job was officially to observe and learn, but his real mission involved cataloging every alien capability and weakness for future reference. The hegemony's warriors looked impressive in their ceremonial armor, but their movements suggested reliance on powered assistance rather than natural strength. The Zenth Collective's advanced cybernetic enhancements created obvious vulnerabilities to electromagnetic interference. The Vori Empire's complex bureaucracy was held together by communication networks that could be disrupted by anyone who understood their protocols. Dr. Amanda Foster worked frantically on her data tablet, recording every gesture and phrase for later analysis. As Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, she had identified crucial patterns in how the three powers interacted with each other. The hegemony and Zenth Collective barely tolerated each other's presence. Their alliance held together only by mutual profit. The Vori Empire played both sides against the middle, offering administrative services while secretly documenting everyone's weaknesses. The Galactic Order was far more fragile than its masters wanted anyone to realize. The final presentations concluded with Chancellor Vextar reading a lengthy document that formally outlined the terms of human client status. Every clause had been designed to strip away independence while maintaining the illusion of voluntary cooperation. Human colonies would be required to accept alien administrators. Earth's military forces would be reduced to ceremonial status. All major economic decisions would require approval from galactic oversight committees. Future human expansion would be limited to worlds that the three powers found strategically unimportant. It was a death sentence disguised as a generous offer, and everyone in the chamber knew it. The alien delegates leaned forward expectantly, waiting for the inevitable moment when human pride would crack under impossible pressure. They had seen it happen to dozens of species over the centuries. The pattern was always the same: initial defiance followed by desperate negotiations, followed by reluctant acceptance, followed by gradual absorption into the galactic machine. But as Sarah slowly stood to deliver humanity's response, something in her expression made the aliens pause. There was no fear in her eyes, no desperation in her posture. Instead, she radiated the calm confidence of someone who held cards that no one else had seen. Her words were clear and measured, delivered with the dignity of someone representing an entire species. The United Earth Federation respectfully declines this proposal and all previous ultimatums, she announced, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. Humanity hereby withdraws from all galactic agreements, treaties, and cooperative arrangements, effective immediately. We thank the Assembly for their time and consideration. The alien delegates reacted with a mixture of shock and satisfaction. They had expected defiance, but the calm finality of Sarah's words suggested something far more dangerous than desperate resistance. As the human delegation gathered their materials and prepared to leave, Sarah placed a small data crystal on the conference table. The device contained detailed intelligence about every species present, their military capabilities, political weaknesses, and most importantly, proof of their systematic oppression of younger civilizations. This contains information that might prove valuable to other species considering their own independence, Sarah said quietly. We hope the Assembly will give it the consideration it deserves. As the humans filed out of the chamber, the aliens congratulated themselves on avoiding what they assumed would have been a costly military campaign. They had no idea that the real war was only beginning, and that humanity had already won the first battle by walking away from a game they had never intended to play by alien rules. The galaxy held its breath as Earth went silent, but the silence was not the sound of defeat. It was the quiet before humanity reminded the universe that some species refused to kneel, no matter what the odds against them might be. The Ghost Fleet mystery 6 months had passed since the human delegation walked out of the Nexus. 7 Assembly and the silence from human space had become a source of growing unease throughout the galaxy. What began as expected economic collapse had transformed into something far more mysterious and unsettling. Trade vessels that ventured toward former human colonies reported finding empty stations drifting in the void, their automated systems still functioning, but their populations vanished without explanation. Captain Zexhai of the Hegemony Patrol Cruiser Dominant Force stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The human mining station at Kepler 442 should have been bustling with activity, its ore processors working around the clock to extract valuable metals from the surrounding asteroids. Instead, his sensors showed a ghost facility operating at minimal power, its docking bays empty, and its communication arrays broadcasting nothing but automated status reports. Sir, we're detecting life support systems still active throughout the station, reported his sensor operator, a young warrior named Krixtar. But there are no life signs anywhere. It's like they all just left. The same pattern was being reported throughout human space. Colonies that should have been struggling with starvation and industrial breakdown instead appeared to be conducting orderly evacuations. Massive cargo vessels had been spotted moving between human worlds, but they vanished into hyperspace whenever alien ships appeared on their sensors. The few human vessels encountered in neutral space refused all communication attempts, jumping away the moment they detected alien presence. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of the evacuation vessel Harmony, watching as the last transport ships departed from Titan's Hope, humanity's largest agricultural colony outside the Sol system. The massive hydroponic complexes that had fed 3 star systems for over 40 years would be gone within hours, their advanced growing chambers carefully dismantled and loaded onto ships bound for destinations that existed in no galactic database. Final transport away. Admiral, reported Commander Lisa Park, her voice steady despite the emotional weight of abandoning a world that represented decades of human achievement. Demolition charges are set and ready for activation on your command. Marcus nodded grimly, knowing that every structure they destroyed was also a message being sent to alien intelligence networks. The galaxy expected to see human desperation and panic, so that was exactly what they would observe. Explosions rocked the colony's outer sections in seemingly random patterns, while emergency broadcasts filled local communication channels with reports of system failures and evacuation chaos. To any observer, it would appear that humanity was abandoning their greatest achievements in the face of inevitable defeat, but the reality was far different from what it seemed. Every component removed from human facilities was being cataloged and transported to hidden locations throughout human space. The aliens had spent months studying human technology through diplomatic exchanges, never realizing that humans had been doing the same thing to their equipment. Every alien device that had passed through human hands had been scanned, analyzed, and reverse engineered in laboratories that officially did not exist. Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent the last 2 years leading teams of scientists in the most ambitious technological development program in human history. Working from a mobile research facility that jumped between star systems to avoid detection, her teams had achieved breakthroughs that would have seemed impossible to the aliens who viewed humanity as a primitive species. The key insight came from studying how alien technologies interacted with each other, revealing standardized protocols that had remained unchanged for thousands of years. The problem with the galactic powers is that they stopped innovating centuries ago, Elena explained to her research teams during one of their regular briefings. Their technology is impressive, but it's also predictable. They've been using the same basic principles for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt when someone challenges their assumptions. The breakthrough discoveries were staggering in their implications. Human engineers had not only matched alien capabilities in several key areas, but had begun surpassing them through innovative approaches that the galaxy had never considered. Adaptive shielding systems could learn and counter alien weapons in real time. Sensor networks could track vessels through hyperspace itself using quantum entanglement principles. Manufacturing techniques allowed complex components to be produced in hours rather than the months required by traditional alien methods. Commander Jake Morrison had traded his Earth defense uniform for the clothing of a freelance trader, spending months moving between alien systems while gathering intelligence that painted a very different picture of galactic civilization. His forged documentation had allowed him access to alien military installations, commercial centers, and administrative hubs where the truth about galactic society slowly revealed itself. The mighty hegemony was actually struggling with internal conflicts on over 20 worlds, their military stretched thin, trying to maintain control over subject species that were growing increasingly restless. The Zenth Collective was facing economic difficulties as their automated systems became less efficient over time, their profits declining as maintenance costs increased. The Vori Empire was drowning in its own bureaucracy, with administrative delays paralyzing decision-making at every level. The galaxy is far more fragile than anyone realizes, Jake reported during a secure quantum communication session with Earth Command. These three powers maintain control through fear and reputation, but their actual capabilities are declining. They're like a house of cards that's been standing so long that everyone forgot it could fall. The most shocking discoveries came from Agent Sarah Kim, who had infiltrated the galactic communication networks using credentials stolen from a Vori administrative facility. The aliens communicated using quantum entanglement networks that they believed were unbreakable, but human mathematicians had developed theoretical models for intercepting such signals. More importantly, the aliens had grown careless with their communication security, discussing sensitive military and political matters on channels they assumed no primitive species could access. The intercepted communications revealed a disturbing pattern of systematic oppression that stretched back millennia. The three galactic powers had been working together to suppress the development of younger species, ensuring they remained technologically dependent and politically subservient. Promising civilizations had been destroyed through engineered conflicts, resource manipulation, and direct military intervention when subtler methods failed. Internal documents showed that humanity's rapid advancement had triggered alarm throughout the galactic hierarchy. Confidential reports described human technological progress as dangerously accelerated and human psychology as insufficiently predictable for standard control protocols. The ultimatum delivered at Nexus 7 had not been about protecting galactic peace, but about preventing humanity from inspiring other species to question the established order. Dr. Foster's psychological analysis teams had been studying alien behavioral patterns through carefully orchestrated encounters in neutral space. Her research revealed that all three galactic powers were showing signs of institutional stagnation after millennia of unchallenged dominance. Their military officers were politicians rather than warriors, more concerned with ceremony than combat readiness. Their economic systems relied on automated processes that no one fully understood anymore. Their governmental structures had grown so complex that effective decision-making had become nearly impossible. The aliens continued to monitor what they believed was the collapse of human civilization through their intelligence networks. Reports flowed in detailing widespread starvation, industrial breakdown, and political chaos throughout human space. The hegemony congratulated itself on avoiding a costly military campaign. The Zenth Collective began making plans for resource extraction rights in former human territories. The Vori Empire prepared administrative frameworks for managing refugee populations. What they failed to understand was that humanity had not collapsed, but had instead undergone the largest strategic deception in galactic history. Every report of human suffering was carefully crafted misinformation designed to maintain the illusion of defeat, while the real preparation continued in hidden facilities throughout human space. The silence from human worlds was not the sound of dying colonies, but the quiet efficiency of a species preparing to transform the balance of power in the galaxy. Meanwhile, human agents continued their work throughout alien space, mapping critical infrastructure and identifying vulnerabilities that could be exploited when the time came. The galactic economy depended on a few dozen transportation hubs and communication relays that coordinated resource flows between thousands of worlds. The military forces that protected these facilities were impressive in appearance, but poorly trained and equipped with systems that had not been significantly updated in centuries. As the months passed, strange incidents began occurring throughout alien territory with increasing frequency. Sensor networks experienced mysterious glitches that lasted just long enough to create blind spots in their coverage. Communication relays suffered temporary failures that disrupted important transmissions. Automated defense platforms occasionally reported system malfunctions that required manual resets of their targeting parameters. The alien engineers attributed these problems to equipment aging and cosmic interference, never suspecting that invisible human agents were testing their defenses and gathering intelligence about response protocols. Each incident provided valuable data about alien capabilities while demonstrating the vulnerability of systems that had operated without serious challenge for far too long. General Patricia Adams monitored these operations from a command center hidden deep within an asteroid beyond the edge of mapped space. Her staff coordinated intelligence gathering activities across dozens of star systems while analyzing the data that painted an increasingly clear picture of galactic weakness. The three powers maintained their dominance through technological superiority that was largely illusory, economic control that depended on cooperation from subject species, and military strength that existed more on paper than in reality. The aliens made a fundamental mistake, General Adams explained to her senior staff during a strategy briefing. They assumed that humanity would react like every other species they've encountered. They expected us to beg for mercy or fight a conventional war using their rules. Instead, we chose a third option that they never considered. As the second year of human isolation began, the aliens remained confident that they had successfully contained the threat posed by human independence. Their intelligence reports continued to paint a picture of human civilization slowly dying in isolation, exactly as their models had predicted. They had no idea that humanity was actually preparing to demonstrate that some species cannot be conquered, controlled, or contained when they decide to fight for their freedom. The ghost fleets that appeared and vanished throughout human space were not the desperate remnants of a defeated civilization, but the advanced scouts of a force that would soon remind the galaxy that evolution never stops for those brave enough to keep moving forward. The Phoenix rises 2 years after humanity had withdrawn from galactic civilization. The galaxy woke up to a sight that defied everything the three powers thought they knew about human capabilities. At precisely 1,400 hours Galactic Standard Time, human fleets materialized simultaneously in 15 critical star systems throughout alien space, their advanced stealth systems powering down to reveal vessels that bore little resemblance to the crewed ships that had departed galactic space 2 years earlier. Captain Sarachin stood on the bridge of the flagship Phoenix Dawn, watching as alien sensor networks struggled to process what they were detecting. The ship around her represented the culmination of humanity's greatest technological achievement, incorporating revolutionary advances that had been developed in secret during the years of supposed human defeat. Sleek predatory lines suggested speed and maneuverability, while adaptive hull plating shifted and flowed like living metal in response to sensor sweeps. All fleets report successful deployment, announced Commander Park, her voice carrying a satisfaction that had been building for 2 years. The Hegemony Home fleet is scrambling from their base at Thrakoth Prime. The Zenth Collective has activated emergency protocols across their major commercial hubs. The Vori Empire is requesting immediate diplomatic contact through all available channels. The demonstration of human technological advancement was carefully choreographed to maximum psychological impact. When Hegemony battle cruisers attempted to scan the human vessels, their sensors were not only blocked, but actually turned against them, providing the humans with detailed intelligence about Hegemony military capabilities. Zenth collective economic warfare algorithms found themselves locked out of their own financial networks. Vori Empire communication systems began broadcasting human messages to every corner of their administrative network to Dr. Elena Vasquez had spent 2 years perfecting the adaptive systems that made human technological superiority possible. Every human ship was equipped with learning algorithms that could analyze alien technology and develop countermeasures within minutes of first contact. The breakthrough had come from studying how different alien technologies interacted, revealing universal principles that could be exploited by anyone who understood the underlying mathematics. The aliens built their entire technological foundation on the assumption that no one would ever challenge their basic approaches. Elena explained to the command staff. They've been using the same protocols for so long that they've forgotten there might be better ways to accomplish the same goals. Our adaptive systems don't just counter their technology, they improve on it in real time. Admiral Marcus Webb commanded the fleet that appeared in orbit around the Hegemony capital world, his ships taking position just outside the range of planetary defense systems that suddenly seemed primitive by comparison. His tactical display showed dozens of Hegemony warships moving to intercept, their crews no doubt preparing for the kind of conventional space battle that had decided galactic conflicts for millennia. They had no idea that humanity had already moved beyond such crude approaches to warfare. Hegemony fleet is requesting our surrender, reported his communications officer with barely concealed amusement. They're demanding that we submit to immediate boarding and inspection or face the consequences of our aggression. Marcus smiled grimly, remembering the months of diplomatic humiliation that had led to this moment. Open a channel to their flagship. Let's show them what human consequences look like. The response was a demonstration that left the Hegemony commanders speechless. Human ships that had appeared motionless suddenly accelerated to impossible speeds, their adaptive drives leaving the alien vessels struggling to track their movements. Weapons that should have penetrated human shields instead found their energy redirected back at their sources. Most shocking of all, the human vessels began replicating Hegemony weapon signatures, turning the aliens' own technology against them with improvements that made the originals seem obsolete. Commander Jake Morrison led the diplomatic vessel that approached the emergency council session hastily convened on Nexus 7 station. His message was broadcast simultaneously on every communication network in the galaxy, ensuring that no species could claim ignorance of humanity's return. The transmission was simple and direct, requesting immediate negotiations to establish new terms of engagement between humanity and the galactic community. The United Earth Federation is prepared to discuss our future relationship with galactic civilization. Morrison announced, his words reaching billions of beings across thousands of worlds. However, these discussions will be conducted between equals, not between masters and subjects. The age of human subordination is over. The alien powers had little choice but to agree to the meeting, though their response came only after hours of frantic communication between their leadership. The human demonstration had revealed capabilities that challenged everything they thought they knew about technological development. Their most advanced sensors could barely track human vessels, and attempts to analyze human technology revealed adaptive systems that seemed to learn and evolve in response to scrutiny. The emergency session that convened 48 hours later bore little resemblance to the diplomatic charade that had driven humanity from galactic space. This time, Captain Chin entered the assembly hall as the representative of a power that commanded respect rather than contempt. The alien delegates, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive newcomers, now faced the uncomfortable reality that their supposed technological superiority had been revealed as an illusion to Dr. Amanda Foster took the stage first, presenting evidence that silenced the chamber completely. Her data proved beyond doubt that the three galactic powers had been systematically oppressing younger species for millennia, using engineered conflicts and economic manipulation to prevent potential rivals from achieving independence. The presentation included intercepted communications, classified documents, and detailed analysis of the methods used to suppress technological development throughout the galaxy. The pattern is unmistakable, Amanda announced, her words being translated and broadcast to every corner of galactic space. Species after species has been prevented from reaching their full potential through deliberate sabotage disguised as benevolent guidance. The galactic order is built on fear and deception rather than cooperation and mutual benefit. The evidence was overwhelming and horrifying in its scope. Internal documents from all three powers detailed plans for suppressing human development that stretch back decades. Military reports described successful operations to destroy promising civilizations before they could challenge the established hierarchy. Economic analyses calculated the profit margins generated by keeping subject species in states of permanent technological dependence. Elena took the stage next, presenting the technological achievements that had made human independence possible. Her demonstration included real-time adaptation to alien defensive systems, showing how human technology could learn and counter any approach the galaxy might develop. The most shocking moment came when she activated a small device that temporarily took control of the station's own systems, displaying human messages on screens throughout the facility. "We didn't just match your technology," Elena announced with quiet satisfaction. "We surpassed it by remembering how to innovate rather than simply maintaining ancient systems. Every human ship carries technology that can adapt to whatever you might develop in response. The age of galactic technological stagnation is over." But the most significant revelation came when Jake presented evidence of widespread discontent throughout the galaxy. Hidden within alien space were dozens of younger species that had been watching humanity's defiant stand with growing admiration. These civilizations had been suppressed for so long that they had almost forgotten the possibility of resistance, but human actions were inspiring them to reconsider their situation. The Altarian Republic has developed advanced biotechnology in secret despite council restrictions, Jake reported. The Kepler Confederation possesses manufacturing capabilities that they've been forced to hide for generations. The Outer Rim Alliance has maintained military traditions despite being officially disarmed centuries ago. Each of these species represents a potential ally in building a new galactic order based on cooperation rather than domination. The alien delegates listened in growing horror as the scope of human intelligence operations became clear. For 2 years, they had congratulated themselves on containing the human threat, while human agents worked throughout their territory, mapping their weaknesses and building networks of support among oppressed species. The reports of human collapse had been elaborate deceptions designed to maintain alien complacency, while the real work of liberation proceeded in secret. Supreme Commander Thrax's response was predictably aggressive. The hegemony does not negotiate with rebels and terrorists, he declared, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. Surrender now, and we may be merciful in our punishment. Sarah Chen's response was delivered with the calm confidence of someone who held all the important cards. Commander, your fleet currently has weapons trained on 15 empty decoy vessels, while our real ships are positioned around your homeworld. Your communication networks are compromised. Your defensive systems have been mapped and analyzed. Your supply lines are vulnerable to disruption at dozens of critical points. The question is not whether you will negotiate with us, but whether you will do so before or after we demonstrate the full extent of human capabilities. The demonstration that followed lasted exactly 37 minutes and forever changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Human fleets appeared throughout alien space, their adaptive technology rendering traditional defenses useless, while their superior coordination allowed them to control key strategic points without firing a shot. The message was clear and unmistakable. Humanity had not just achieved technological parity, but had moved beyond the limitations that constrained their former masters. The negotiations that followed established the Liberation Protocols, a new framework for galactic civilization based on mutual respect rather than domination. The three traditional powers found themselves forced to accept human leadership in developing new technologies and exploring new frontiers. More importantly, they were required to recognize the independence of dozens of younger species that had been suppressed for millennia. The Phoenix Dawn departed Nexus 7 stations 6 months later, leading a fleet that included vessels from over 30 different species united in their determination to build a better galaxy. Sarah Chen stood on the bridge one last time as the captain of a human vessel, but her next assignment would be as the first admiral of the combined Liberation Fleet, commanding ships and crews from across the galaxy in their shared mission to ensure that no species would ever again face the choice between submission and destruction. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, bound for new frontiers beyond the edge of known space, the galaxy began the long process of learning what cooperation could accomplish when fear and domination were replaced with mutual respect and shared dreams. Humanity had reminded the universe that evolution never stops for those brave enough to keep moving forward, and the lessons of that reminder would echo among the stars for generations to come.